You know that sinking feeling, right? When you walk into a room and, yep, there's a puddle where a puddle should not be. Or maybe you spot that dreaded brown stain spreading across your ceiling. The first reaction is always panic. But what if we could just push that panic aside and replace it with a solid, step-by-step plan? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are breaking down what to do when water decides to show up uninvited in your home.
Okay, first up, let me ask you something. When you hear home flood, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably something really dramatic, like a hurricane or a giant pipe exploding in the wall, right? But what if I told you the most common cause of home water damage is something way less dramatic and probably lurking in your house right now? The real answer might actually surprise you.
And there you have it. It's the supply lines for your appliances. Seriously, that little hose connected to your washing machine or the line to your dishwasher or water heater, those are the things that fail most often. They're like these hidden threats, just quietly wearing out over time until one day, bam, you've got a flood in your kitchen or laundry room and you had absolutely no idea it was coming.
All right, so that's a perfect lead-in to our first big topic. When water attacks, we're going to look at all the hidden ways water can get into your home. It's not just about that one sneaky appliance hose.
Just look at the variety of sources here. You've got your classic burst pipes, maybe from a deep freeze or just old plumbing that's given up. Then there's water just seeping into your basement because of soil pressure, a huge issue in some places. And of course, you've got your appliance failures, leaks from storms, even your HVAC unit can start dripping. And let's not even talk about a sewer backup. Nobody wants that. The big takeaway here, the threat isn't just from one direction. It can come from above you, below you, and from right inside your own walls.
Okay, let's shift gears to what is, without a doubt, the most critical phase of this whole ordeal, the first 48 hours. From the second you discover water damage, a clock starts ticking. I'm not kidding. Those first 2 days are absolutely everything. What you do, or more importantly, what you don't do in that window, will literally determine how bad this gets.
And to really hammer home why this is so urgent, think about this. Once things like your drywall or your carpets get soaked, how much time do you really have before a much uglier, much more dangerous problem starts to grow?
24 to 48 hours. That's it. That is your entire window. In a damp, humid space, that's all it takes for mold to literally start growing. So you see, we're not just talking about a wet floor anymore. We're talking about a potential health hazard that affects the very air you breathe. That clock starts ticking the instant things get wet.
I mean, this quote really says it all. Ignoring the problem doesn't just let it fester, it actually makes it branch out into new, even worse problems. Think about it. A simple water issue becomes a structural rot issue. That becomes a foundation issue, and all the while you're risking toxic mold growth. The message could not be clearer. You have to act, and you have to act fast. Okay, so we've established that speed is key. But what does acting fast actually mean? What's the game plan? Let's get into the restoration playbook and see exactly what the professionals do when they show up to handle this kind of emergency.
So, first things first, we need to get two terms straight: remediation and restoration. They sound similar, but they're totally different phases. Think of remediation as the emergency room visit. It's the triage. The goal is to stop the bleeding, get the water out, start drying everything, and prevent the damage from spreading. Restoration, on the other hand, is the recovery and reconstruction. That's when you actually rebuild what was damaged. New drywall, new floors, all of it, to get your home back to the way it was. You absolutely have to do the emergency stop before you can do the complete rebuild.
And this whole process generally follows a three-step playbook. Step 1 is the emergency extraction. The pros come in with heavy-duty equipment to get all that standing water out. Step 2 is where the real work begins, structural drying. This involves specialized fans and dehumidifiers, and they monitor it constantly to make sure everything is drying out properly. And only then, once it's confirmed that everything is bone dry, do they move to step 3, the reconstruction phase. But let's pause on that second step for a minute, the drying part, because this is where things get really interesting. This isn't just about setting up a couple of box fans and calling it a day. No, this is a full-blown science. It's a very calculated, very precise process.
It's a field of science called psychrometry. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but here's a simple way to think about it. It's like being a weather forecaster for the inside of your house. Technicians use special tools to measure temperature and humidity, and they use that data to create the perfect conditions to literally pull moisture out of the walls, floors, and air as fast as possible. This ensures no hidden moisture gets left behind.
And that right there is why trying to DIY this is such a massive risk. You can use a shop vac, you can set up all the fans you own, but at the end of the day, it's just guesswork. The surface might feel dry to the touch, but what about the moisture trapped deep inside the drywall or under the flooring? That trapped moisture is exactly what mold loves, and it can silently cause rot and structural damage for years. The professional, scientific approach isn't just faster. It guarantees that the job is done completely.
Something else the pros do is classify the water itself, and this is super important for safety. Category 1 is clean water, like from a broken water supply line. Category 2 is gray water, which is a little dirty. Think water from a dishwasher or washing machine drain. And then you have Category 3, black water, which is the really nasty stuff like sewage or floodwaters from outside. Knowing the category is critical because it determines the entire safety protocol and cleanup plan to make sure your home is actually safe to live in again.
All right, so we've gone over the problem and the process. Now let's tackle the big questions everyone has. How much is this going to cost, and is my insurance actually going to pay for it?
Okay, this is super important to understand. Your standard homeowner's policy is designed to cover things that are sudden and accidental. So that pipe that bursts out of nowhere, you're probably covered. But that slow dripping leak under the sink that you've been meaning to fix for 6 months? Yeah, they'll likely call that a maintenance issue, and you won't be covered. And here's the biggest gotcha of all. If the water comes from outside your house, like a river overflowing its banks, that's considered a flood, and it is not covered. For that, you need a completely separate flood insurance policy. So what are we talking about in terms of cost? Well, the average insurance claim for water damage in the U.S. falls somewhere between $7,000 and $12,000. Now, obviously, a tiny leak will be less, and a huge flood will be way, way more. But this gives you a pretty realistic ballpark figure for what you could be looking at.
And what about the timeline? How long will your home be turned upside down? Well, the emergency part, getting the water out, happens on day 1. Then, the drawing phase, with all the equipment, usually takes about 3 to 7 days. After that, you're into the reconstruction phase, which could be anything from a week to, well, several weeks or more, all depending on how much damage there was to begin with.
Okay, so let's boil this all down to the absolute must-know takeaways. Number 1, act fast. That 24 to 48-hour window to stop mold is non-negotiable. Number 2, call a professional. Their science and equipment will beat your shop vac and fans every single time. 3, document everything. Take pictures, take videos, make notes. Your insurance company will thank you. And finally, number 4, know your policy. Don't wait for a disaster to find out what's covered. Read it, like tonight.
So I want to leave you with this one final thought. Your house might look dry after a little leak. The carpet might feel dry to the touch. But the real question is, what's hiding? What moisture is still trapped behind your walls, silently causing rot and damage where you can't see it? It's a sobering thought, isn't it? Sometimes the biggest dangers are the ones that are completely invisible.